Hey, Kevin here. I I haven't done any exclusively garden videos, and I wanted to on a few subjects. I think I'm doing a few things a little differently than a lot of people, or at least trying some different things, and we'll see if I can convey what I'm trying to do. So I'm trying to get away from pure mulch systems, trying to go into living covers as the mulch. And what's unique about this particular garden is that this is an annual cover crop as the living mulch. And so what I tried this year is radishes, or this is a turnip. I think there's some rapeseed in here. Um, this is, I think, yeah, this is a radish from that overwintered, is going to seed. But that's all in the pathways. Um, and so I'll show you how we manage this to get it from taking over other crops in a bit. Now, let me backstep something that I'm doing a couple different things in this garden. The first thing I'm doing is what I think some people call is relay gardening, having one crop come in first, and as it's phasing out, then there's another crop coming up through, so you're using two different crops. One passes the baton to the other one, so to speak. So my first crop I planted this spring is the spinach. You can see overall the spinach is doing pretty nicely. Just got some nice rows of it there. And the neat thing about spinach is it's finishing up at about the same time sweet corn's just starting to get up there and create some shade. So I've been doing this for a couple years, and I can say that this works. I put the spinach down the pathway of every other row. Then in the pathway that I don't put the spinach is where I can walk and plant the corn and harvest the spinach and that kind of thing. Now, it gets more complex when you then cover every open space with other types of cover crop. So we have the spinach here. Here you can see a little corn plant, and a little corn plant just started to come up through in my traditional rows. And so the new element I added, of course, was this annual cover crop. And of course, the danger with the cover crop is it starts to encroach on the spinach or the corn. And so how I manage that is, you pull out the weeds. So we see little weeds that I want in here that I don't want, like these grasses are pretty aggressive. We're just weeding these straight out. And of course, when you're weeding something, you're attempting to kill it. But what I love about these cover crops is that I can, as they encroach upon the growing area, the corn and such, I can cut that back with a little hand scythe. So I'm going to see if I can demonstrate for you what that looks like in an area that's being encroached upon. So here we have an area where we've got the spinach. Right in here is where the corn is supposed to be coming up. The corn is not coming up well in this particular row. Other rows it's doing just fine. I think that has more to do with the age of the wood chips right here. Probably not broken down real good. But right beside me in this next row, it looks like it's coming up good, maybe a little more broken down. So let's say that the corn is going to come up here, or if I replant it, this is encroaching on it too much. This is coming in. I'm going to harvest a lot of the spinach tomorrow, but this needs to be cut back a little bit. I do like the flowers here. That going to seed. I'm going to try to leave that in the middle, but here about 6 inches out, about the width of this, I want to cut this back. I don't want to kill it, I just want to mow it back and let it regrow. And so I just go like this. And you can see that's a pretty quick process, and you can just let that where it falls. Maybe brush it back from the edge a little bit. And we've opened up and got sunlight in there again. So I'm going to demonstrate that again. I'm just coming up here probably about 3-4 inches up from the base, and just bring that along there. You gotta, of course, watch your legs. And then this is all nice mulch that can go anywhere. You can place it specifically, or you can just kind of lay it there. And I assume that's going to be good until it should regrow, and I'll cut it back when it feels like it needs it. 50 by 50. I want to show you what it looks like now. About 2 weeks after I filmed the little scything demonstration, maintaining the rows. The spinach has been picked twice. It's always interesting when you got multiple crops happening. You can see this rape becoming really dominant in that particular area. You can see the corn starting to shoot up through there. We can see the spinach being less dominant. Here's one of the taller rows of spinach. You can see it's losing some of its dominance. We'll let a lot of that go to seed to collect a lot of seed off of. Some areas of these pathways that live in cover, like in this area, you can see the dead leaf litter and the stumps of the different covers. Mowed that back the whole way across, which is an option. Or you can let some in the center go higher for the flowers, or to go to see the butterflies in there working their way. A lot of hum of bees. Little update on the annual cover crop garden. So it's the end of June. We're not seeing dramatic changes. We are seeing the cover crop change somewhat. Here you see the white flowering stuff's the buckwheat. You've got the corn getting fairly high in some locations. Just very spotty germination with the sweet corn. We'll certainly have a sweet corn crop, but not going to be the best. This really tall spinach in this row, just letting that go to seed. We'll collect seed from our favorite plants here, and then probably kind of either smash it down or just let it fall if it's, but most likely the corn will be high enough by the time we're doing seed collection. It won't really be a factor one way or another. You can see that we're still trying to keep the cover crop a foot back, mowed back. Maybe you can see it better there. Trying to keep it a foot back. Not perfectly a foot back, just, you know, if I see a cover crop I want, like some buckwheat or some radish going to seed, we can leave that. We have the wildflower mix. You can see a few of those are just starting to come in. Of course, we have some sunflowers here getting established, but it will be interesting to see what was in the wildflower mix, what all we get. I want to do a little mid-summer update. It's not going quite as I had anticipated. Going okay, but we'll show you some of the ups and downs of it. You can see the great height over here, decent height on the far left, good here. And then as we go over this way, the height goes down on the corn. This is all sweet corn with cover. If I do the close-up view, you can see the corn here is okay height, probably ranging from shoulder high. Then down in this area, replanted stuff probably just over waist high. See the tallest, a couple of tall ones there. And then this other corn, on average, I'm just used to having corn that is much taller than this. When you see it coming into tassel and it's really only head high, that's not very great for what I've been used to with mulch systems. I'm used to having corn, sweet corn, that's probably well over your head. You say 6 foot, maybe 7 foot tall sweet corn with heavy mulch. There was a few years back where I had sweet corn that was incredible. Not the variety, but it was, I don't know if it was just super tall. On average, it had like 5, 4, 5, 3. I mean, 4 was probably average, but it would set multiple ears. It would carry a couple of those, more than your 1 or 2, to maturity. Those were the years where I think I was doing mostly grass, maybe a little wood chip, and then putting urine down on top of that. I'm using urine application on this also, my own. With anything, I think one of my main thoughts is it's always hard to narrow what you've done down to one factor, the X factor or whatever they call it. And we'd like to be able to change that the key or the secret is in this one thing. But then the reality is we have so many things in our practice and our gardening that are consistent from year to year that we do without thinking about, and it becomes kind of background to us. A lot of times we don't state it. It's like the context of what we're doing. Like, so for example, with this garden, the context, the larger historical context of this garden is it's a 3-year-old garden, right? Doesn't have the soil starts out terrible, and I put down wood chips the first year, did so. Second year, no wood chips, put down leaves. The leaves mostly blew away, and that year we also had, the electric fence didn't keep the small rodents out. So then this year, last fall, we fenced this in. Now nothing's getting into the garden, and I brought in broken down wood chips, put them down, pretty thick, spread them across. I thought this is gonna, really supercharge it. But I think my main conclusion, we'll take a back step. So we did have all of June was pretty cool temperatures, cold evenings. Corn I don't think likes that so well. So slow start. Voles hit a lot of this, really knocked out a lot of my corn. I'm just happy to have as much standing as I have here now. But it's, when I start seeing tassels come in and I see the tassels at this height, I'm not happy. I want to see the tassels up over my head somewhere. So what made this not such a great year? Well, I think that there's 2 factors that we have to look at. A, are the annual cover crops, or the cover crops taking too much energy from the corn? B, the wood chips are several years old now, and so they're partially composted, but not really compost. I think any green leaves that would have been in those wood chips are long gone. That quick flush of energy is not in there anymore, I assume. It just doesn't seem like the wood chips are, when they're broken down like that multiple years, they're a great source of carbon, but maybe not great energy source. So I just know that when I was using grass mulch, it seemed like it was breaking down fast and creating a powerhouse for the garden. I'm sure it was lacking in some other things, but it was quite good. So what I did here about a week and a half ago, I came in with a little bit of leaves that I gathered last fall, and I put them in some of the rows right in beside and around the corn to try to give it some energy, something that's breaking down a little faster than the wood chips. We'll see if that saves it very much. Did some nutrient sprays, but let me show you these wood. So here you can sort of see the makeup of what they're growing in without any. It's just sort of the broken down wood chips. Some of the larger ones are here on the surface. If you sweep that aside, you get into sort of some crumblies like that. And that's nothing added to it. Whereas say these rows, I went ahead and put the grass from last fall, or not grass, the leaf mold there. Attempt to give it a little kick here of energy. Here maybe you can see the leaves a little better, not broken down quite as much. So if that's the corn row, here's what the pathway looks like. Most of the lush perennials have given way to, there's a volunteer tomato, there's a rape. Right here you see the stellar, here we can see the height, and then sweeping up to there you can see the height of that corn. That's probably 7-8 foot corn there. But other than that standout, you got some okay stuff over there. Here's where I expect most of the corn to be averaging at here this year. Looks like it's about that high coming into tassel. About head high, maybe a little under head high. If you look over it here. So I think that's typical for a lot of people, but it hasn't been typical for the mulch that I've used. Either radish or turnip that went to seed, reseeded itself and is starting again. So that's kind of exciting when you get sort of a reseeding process happening. So the corn came in at pretty much average height this year. I don't think it really had to do with the last minute sort of things to try to help. And I'm sure it didn't hurt, but I think I just need to let it go into tassel a little bit more. Let me show you the height. Here we have some pretty uniform, sort of probably over 6 foot stuff. These 3 rows pretty consistent. These 3 rows are probably our weakest. So right here, year-end evaluation of annual as cover crop in the garden. I think comparing this to perennials in the garden, I would say if somebody wanted to try cover crop in the garden, I think annuals are easier to get results with early on, because you can plant, if you keep them watered well, you're gonna have good germination, you'll have a lot of quick growth. So maybe a good place to start. The perennials take so long to get established. I've had some of them in there 2 years and they're still not established in the rows, because I don't want to go out to a nursery and buy 50 plants to put in the ground. It gets expensive quick. So start with 1 and divide, or 2 or 3. So annuals, good place to start maybe. Just like the other garden, the main takeaway is I think we need to transition from covers into the pathways and the growing rows, about 1.5 foot of mulch, heavily mulched with something. I've been using leaves, I like that. And so there's a variety of reasons for that, but when I reflect back on this video, or I watch it, it's fun watching the season progress, the difficulties of the voles in the cool season early on, having to replant a lot of this. Also, it was coming into tassel. A lot of this stuff was coming into tassel down about shoulder height. Just seemed really wimpy, but I didn't realize it was going to keep growing for 2-3 weeks after it came into tassel. So it wasn't as dire as it looked at the time. So the corn turned out to do fine. Was not an amazing crop by any means, but for the drought that we are in, we'll take it. So aside from that main evaluation, I think the next point is, like, if you like to grow heritage corn, which I love the idea of saving seed, it's hard to find good varieties. I'm not really into Country Gentleman. I'm not into the Bantam one. I do like Damon K's, super sweet, really good heritage variety. Maybe a little chewy if it goes on there long, but really sweet, good flavor. The other one I tried this year that's got potential is Stonewall, and it's really tall. It's probably consistently, I don't know, 10 feet, 9, yeah, not 10, 8, 9 feet tall. It seems late to mature. The stalks are long, kind of a bicolor, but I think Stonewall has potential. So, so looking at those heritage for next year. I liked the sunflowers I grew around the edge of the garden. A lot of those got really mammoth. The birds are really moving in now to clean those out. Like to feed some of those to my ducks, if there's any left for them after the birds attack them. So yeah, fun year in this garden. God bless, and good luck in your gardening ventures.